Like, let's just stop talking about the end of the world for 2 seconds.
Yeah. And like sometimes we gotta stop talking about the end of the world because holy shit, are things like escalating rapidly and becoming very, very end of the world-ish in ways that we don't
Yeah,
want.
feels like it.
Especially with news coming out from yesterday
Oh,
with the two young black men being lynched in Mississippi.
yeah,
And I'm
yep,
gonna call it what it is because that's what it
yep,
is.
yep.
It's a lynching.
True.
You don't hang yourself, you don't break your own bones beforehand,
Hello, people.
and
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
black. And there is
yep,
a historical trend in the South of black men winding up hung from trees by white people.
yep.
And it's a
And
white
there's no
supremacy
denouncement.
problem. Yep.
Yes,
There's no
and we're not
denouncement
seeing
of it.
denouncement from the public. We're not seeing it from our politicians who are so riled up over the last few days about saying appropriate things. They
Yep.
just conveniently leave out any narrative, any fact that contradicts their BS white supremacy narrative. They just ignore, and we can't let them do that.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Yep.
have to be loud.
Yeah, and they keep throwing it in our faces that it's us who are committing these things when it's not. Um, no one on the left is active, or I can't say no one. 99% of the people on the left are not actively pursuing violence or even passively pursuing violence. Like most people on the left are just like, hey, I want to live my fucking life. Please leave me alone. Like, just let other people live. And that's all we're
Yeah,
really asking is like basic dignity. But I think we have found out that it is way beyond time for civility when we speak about these things, and using
yeah,
words matter when we speak about these things.
yep.
So good morning, everyone, as you come rolling on in. Waiting on Fred Pogue to join us. I'm going to re-invite him again because he just got off a show with Dana Dubois and Lawrence Winterman for the Daily Whatever. Um, Guested by the opinionated ogre as well. It was an incredible show. So if y'all have not seen the Daily Whatever when they put out the recording, highly recommend it. It was a really good episode again this morning. Um, but yeah, welcome. Good morning, Walter. It's the Sick of This Show with Nick Paro and Walter Ryan, and eventually
Yeah,
Frederick Pogue when he decides to stop
yeah,
being lazy and join us. And we're doing Notes of the Week again. Um, because I kind of like this trend of talking about some of the big notes that we've had during the week. It keeps things alive and in the news when they need to be.
yeah.
And this week has been rather
Awful.
big
Yeah,
and awful. So Walter, how are you doing today before we get in any
good,
notes? I know I got a couple that I want to go over.
good. Well, I'm really happy to talk to you. And I was just reflecting, and I think it's really interesting how, you make a Venn diagram of what we believe, and it's kind of like this, there's significant overlap. There's Fred
There's
There we
Fred.
having
are.
Welcome. Good morning, brother.
having
I
breakfast.
I decided to get some chow now.
Fuel Fred. Yeah. I wanted to
There you go.
remind you you're on for movies on Thursday too, Fred. I hope you haven't
I am
forgotten because I'm.
okay. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I remember. You and Ben.
He remembers now.
Yep.
He's like, oh
No, but I
shit,
wanted to
I got to
say,
cancel all those other meetings.
yeah. But Nick, yeah, I appreciated being able to talk to you on Thursday, and we were both in like that, just that kind of that working over the thing stage, and it's like you gave me
Yeah,
some ideas to think about more, and we were not quite in alignment, but it was still like it was so valuable for me to. I mean, we weren't fighting each other, just like looking at it from different angles, which is like, oh, great. Now this gives me something else I can work with. And I felt so much better after talking with you then. And things have gratefully, things have kind of come down a little bit, but the right is just pushing. I mean, they're so opportunistic. Every time a tragedy happens, the right shows absolute disrespect for the dead, either by ignoring the tragedy or by lying about the tragedy to promote their own authoritarian ends. And like you said, talking about we have to be truthful with our words. We can't be the meek left who's just like, well, that's kind of true. I guess that's. We have to push back on these bullshit lies, these bullshit narratives, that whole not all thing. Every time that's deployed, it's disingenuous. It's a thought terminating cliche designed to allow these false narratives to proliferate. And yes, we have to change our mindset and stand up for what is the right thing.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I
Standing
say?
up.
You know what I say to them when they say that? And they go, "Well, not all this." I say, "Yeah, but that's you, isn't it? Right? I mean,
Well, I
it's
say,
like, well, not all conservatives are like that. Yeah, but that's you, isn't it? You believe
Yeah.
that stuff, don't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then I
you
say,
know,
they say, well, not everybody's a criminal, but we spend all this money on the police force, right? And it's like you can hit all things like that. It's like, but they have these encapsulations where they use their absurd arguments, and then they just disregard the whole realities where they're. It's like if you believe something that's true, it applies. Pretty much universally. And it's just like they have like these little things that they choose to see or not see. It's
Yeah.
frustrating.
nice.
Nazi. Nice play on words
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I heard that emphasis on that
That's
correct
what that
Nicely
syllable.
wasn't
done.
intentional.
Well done, sir.
It
Well
worked
done.
though. So
Accident.
as we're getting all in, Fred's finishing his breakfast, sneaking in that meal for the day.
I'm
It's
actually
no
finishing second breakfast.
well,
So,
like any good hobbit would. Second
Power
breakfast.
up.
As we
yeah.
were talking
Waka
about
waka
Lord of the
waka.
Rings beforehand, the show, Walter and I, it's a good thing you reference Lord of the Rings for second
Yeah.
breakfast. Um, but it's notes of the week again for
Oh, that
everyone
poor
who's
breakfast.
coming in. And I know Walter always has some good notes that he can go over. I have some notes that I want to talk about, two of which I'm going to just drop in the chat just so that you can go like and share them because two young black men were lynched in the last 24 hours.
Oh,
I'm
it's
going to
two
use that.
now.
It's
I saw
two.
the
There's
one.
one in there was one at Delta State University in Mississippi. The other was outside Vicksburg, Mississippi, outside
Of
a
course.
casino. Two black men, were lynched. And I'm going to use that word. No, I do not have proof that it is a hate crime. Statistically speaking, from
It
the
is.
data, it is a hate crime because black men don't hang themselves. They don't break their bones beforehand and
Yep.
then go hang themselves.
Yeah.
And they definitely don't do it in fucking public.
No. And the reason, and
And it's
here's
done
the,
by a white dude. I'm from the data. It was a white dude or group of white men,
Mhm.
specifically probably young white men who were influenced by folks like Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes, Laura Loomer, and the entire hate shit that is on the network of the right. I am now calling them the fascist Abrahamic regressives or the far right.
well, yeah. And the thing about this is, as someone who's lived in the South and is steeped in this kind of bullshit hate culture, um, the reason they do that, and this always follows the same pattern, right? Is they come in, the cops say, well, there's no evidence of foul play, so it must be self-inflicted. And the reason they do that is because if you declare it a murder and it's pretty obvious it's a lynching, the DOJ Civil Rights Division, what used to be there before Pam Bodney got a hold of it, would get involved. So that's how a lot of lynchings
Mhm.
are swept under the rug.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, well, no, we're in a post-racial society. It doesn't
No,
happen anymore. No, it happens more often than you think. The reason you
you'll
don't hear
fucking
about
find.
it, it the reason you don't hear about it is because it's declared a suicide.
Yeah. And this gets back to the irresponsible way that our political leaders have been handling the event since then. I'm calling it a school shooting in Utah because it was a school shooting and another tragic school shooting where the lives lost did not mean anything more than the lives of all the hundreds of kids and children that have died. One of the things I've been asking people lately, it's like, do you acknowledge? Because the right was calling Sandy Hook a false flag. They've been torturing that family. They're lecturing us on tone policing now. They've been torturing the families that lost their kids for all these years by saying those kids didn't even exist. And they're fucking got the nerve right now to lecture us on tone policing. But their reaction after the shooting at Utah, they fanned the flames of hate. They didn't wait for any facts. They were attacking the left without any evidence whatsoever. And the result of that action, just put aside the motivations of the shooter off to the side. This is another crime now. They're fanning the flames of hate. Immediately after that, historically black universities, 5 of them, had to close down because of credible terror threats. That's a
Yep.
direct result of the right wing manipulation of this narrative to cultivate hate. And that's something that we can decry and denounce right now. We can get back to it's like their actions, they're accusing the left of saying inappropriate things. Their actions have caused terrorist threats to universities and these just horrific murders and lynchings in the South which nobody's talking about except us because the whole media is compromised. And it's just like, I'm kind of settling down a little bit after the last couple days, but it's just so felt. They're so pushing for a civil war. The right is pushing for more violence every second of the way. And that's why we can't be timid in our response.
Yeah.
No.
And
how we
like, and so that leads kind of perfectly. This discussion starts off really strong and is going to keep going strong. Like, we're going to be an hour strong on this type of discussion.
Yeah.
Leads kind of perfectly into the note that I really wanted to discuss today that I wrote over the weekend. And I'm really, really glad that Chris Goldsmith on the Find Out podcast is talking about it and mentioned it. And I'm going to pull up the link. It's to the effect of Brian Kilmeade advocated for state-sponsored murder of veterans on a live national broadcast on one of the most watched shows on one of the most watched networks in America, and callously and cavalierly said we should, quote, euthanize or just kill them for being unhoused.
All the
Veterans, all of them. There are more than just veterans in the unhoused community. There are over 300,000 unhoused veterans right now. Post 9/11 veterans, Gulf War veterans, Vietnam veterans, 3 major fucking wars that we participated in.
A generation.
The Korean conflicts, generational warfare, groups of people. He advocated for euthanizing, murdering veterans. Murdering them. And the right is, and I have been told on here a couple times now in response, yeah, but that wasn't he wasn't doing that of veterans. That was a roundabout way of getting there. No, the fuck he was, because I know that the number of veterans who are homeless is greater than 0, which means if you're advocating for killing homeless people, all of them, and rounding them up in state-sponsored murder, if there's one veteran, you are advocating for the murder and state-sponsored killing of veterans.
Let's be real though. We know this, man. They don't give a fuck about veterans. They don't care about us.
No, they
don't care. Because was Fox News screaming at the top of their lungs with all their editorial and all their political pundits about Trump and Doge wanting to cut 100,000 jobs from the VA? No. Were they screaming and shrieking at the top of their lungs about how much we love our veterans when they cut funding to the Veteran Suicide Hotline? No. Were they shrieking when the Supreme Court said that back in March that, oh, well, if it's a we don't know on a disability claim that, the VA should keep deciding in favor of the veteran? No, they got rid of that. They said, nope, you deny the veteran. If it's unclear, you deny the veteran, which is not just physical disability, which we fought to get mental health declared as physical, as a disability, part of our VA disability. So we can get help, so we can get psychiatrists, so we can deal with complex PTSD and all these other things that they denied. Has Fox done any of that? No. They don't give a shit about us. And it's time veterans understand that. These right-wing veterans, they don't care about you. They don't care. Once your service is done, they'll throw you away. Because although they'll cheer you on while your body's being sacrificed in wars we never wanted to be in. But once we're done with those wars, hey, go get jobs. See you later. Get the hell out of here.
Yep.
Best of luck.
They don't care. They don't care. They don't care about us. Republicans at this point, the fascist, Abrahamic, regressive party, the far right, I would rather you spit on me at this point than fucking lie to me. Because then at least I know you have some decency and courage for your convictions. If you're willing to spit on me, you have some conviction with your fucking bigoted asshole behavior, and I'll just punch you in the face. But that's not a threat. That's a promise, because you assault me with your spit, I'm gonna fucking punch you back. But if you're willing to lie to me, you don't have any convictions, and you're just a fucking coward.
Oh, and that's their leader, right? That's Donald Trump. And I said this on the Daily Whatever. Do you know why Charlie Kirk makes why he made his living going to college campuses even while he was disparaging higher education? Because that was a safe space for him to spew his vile stuff. When I was at
Hmm.
East Tennessee State University and I was in grad school, I worked for the University Center, which means I was in my department, we were the ones that scheduled the student spaces, and that meant the quad and stuff outside. And because it was a public university, any organization could reserve for free a space at that university,
Hmm.
and we were obligated to give that to them because we were taxpayer funded. And what would we get every semester? You'd have these Christian fascists that would come with their big signs, that were anti-LGBTQ, anti-women, and they'd have their bullhorns and they're yelling at young women that are going to class, calling them sluts, calling them this, every name you could think of, right? And it would rile the students up. And when you go talk to them, like, hey, man, you need to tone this down. You violate my freedom of speech. You violate my First Amendment rights. They were looking for someone to punch them or the university shut them down so they could make a buck and sue them. And all Charlie Kirk did was take the shit national. Was he grifted even harder and did it bigger? He was a piece of shit as a human being.
Yeah.
However, he did not deserve to get assassinated by one of his own. But you know what? He got assassinated by one of his own because that was the world he helped to build. And he didn't care if I got shot, or Walter, or Nick, or school kids, or anybody on the left, or anybody he demonized. He didn't give a shit. He even said it himself, his own words. Well, people die, so we can have Second Amendment. Just is what it is. And I find it fascinating that people like Sasha Stone on frickin' Substack called Christina Ricci a fascist for posting on Instagram. All she posted were Charlie Kirk's own words.
Hmm.
And yet she gets called a fascist. And that's disrespectful to his legacy. The man said it. He said it. That's
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
legacy. We're just saying it. We're not
Hmm.
adding to it. You know, that's it.
Yeah. If his
The only thing
legacy
I'm
is
adding
hate,
to
it's
is I
hate.
said he's a piece of shit human being. Why would you say that, Fred? Gee, he called abortion worse than the Holocaust. He said people and kids can be sacrificed in order for the Second Amendment to remain active. He talked about using lethal force against undocumented immigrants, even though it's a civil offense. He had, that jackass kid that killed people up in was it Minnesota or Wisconsin?
Wisconsin. Yep.
Yeah, in
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, had him on his show. He said when he found out the Nashville school shooter was transgender or identified as trans, he said, "Oh, I didn't care before, but then once I found out they're transgender, I was absolutely giddy." He was a
Giddy.
fucking ghoul, man. You know, and the
Yeah.
world's better off without him. And I'm saying it. But you know what?
Yes.
Even saying that, he didn't deserve to go out the way he did. And
So
we do not need to settle our differences like that. And shame
no,
on
we
anybody
don't.
that's calling for violence.
Yeah, and if you
It's
look, like we look in the chat, someone's asking, Natasha's asking, so why now are they denying this? It's fucking bizarre. These people are all mentally ill. Yes, it's
yeah, they are.
propaganda. It's a psyop.
Yes.
It is a
Yes.
purposeful destruction of truth. It is a psychological operation against the American populace to
Yep.
shift the entire window of discussion as far right as possible and normalize hate as regular
Yep.
discussion while denormalizing normal discussion as hate. It is war is peace, freedom is slavery. It is 1984. It is Orwellian as fuck. Like they took that lesson and they were like, yep, we're going to do
Yep.
that. They're rewriting facts and truth in real time. The thing is, Natasha, they have spread so much hate, just like for everyone
Mhm.
else here, they've spread so much hate and lies and distrust that they've sown the seeds of chaos,
Mhm.
that it doesn't matter if it's even them calling for mistruths. Nobody believes them anymore. And so anything that comes out is chaotic. And so
Mhm.
that they want that. They want the chaos. They want the division. And at this point, too, on top of it, it is going to be more extreme right wing groups trying to take over Turning Point USA and take over Kirk's legacy. You see it right now. That's what they're doing with JD Vance, why he went on to Kirk's show and nationalized Charlie Kirk's network to demonize
Mhm.
and make holy war against the left. It is a rallying cry. They're going to use it as they can, best they can, to turn him into a martyr because they needed a martyr. And if it doesn't work with Kirk, they will move on to the next one in their cult. That is how this works. That is historically speaking.
Yep.
If they don't galvanize enough movement the first time, they'll do it again and again and again until it's so commonplace and so galvanized just by default that they can do whatever they want. Like,
Well,
but they're
and
not, they're going to come after the left. Yes. People like us on the left are targets too. They're going to come after their own
mhm.
publicly first as Trump continues to die because they need to consolidate as much power and figure out who really is next in line. It's
They'll fight.
a
Yeah, they'll fight
they're going
amongst
to fight it
themselves.
out. It's going to be
Yeah.
Game of Thrones in the most vicious parts of that show. Like that's what they want.
Yeah, and the other part of it is too is like this is a chilling effect, right? So they're using institutions. So like my ETSU, my alma mater, they suspended two professors, which I
Yeah.
wrote a piece about and I spoke out in defense of, for not speaking on campus, not acting in their capacity as ETSU employees. It was on their own personal social media. They got suspended, right? And it was nothing really overly problematic. It was just like I'm glad. One might have said, "I think I'm glad he's gone," or the other one was like he was a hate monger, and stuff I've said worse stuff. But again, I don't work for an institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to, and the
Come try
reason
and fire me.
they keep hitting the trans button, even though it's patently false, right? Is if you believe that and you're still in their bubble, when the economic crash comes from everything these dumbasses have done, and they say, "Oh, it's immigrants and it's Democrats that caused the crash,"
Mhm.
even though that's completely untrue,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Well,
tariffs and the people who control all three branches of government.
Yep.
They're still going to get like you're going to have people go, "It's Biden, it's Biden,
Yep.
it's the damn Democrats, they did it." And so it's a way to keep their people like we're not gonna solve this until we get some power back, however that comes about, and we ban Fox News for being a national security threat. And we ban OAN and we send these people to jail.
because we can
You know.
also prove that they're security threats because they're
Yes.
receiving money from Russia. It's not an unfounded threat that they're posing.
No.
These organizations are
Yeah.
actively receiving and being paid by Russia to spread disinformation, propaganda, and to conduct a psyop, a
Yeah.
Russian military psyop on the American people to sow and spread fear and chaos and hate to try and cause a civil war. That is the
Mhm.
Russian playbook to take down America without shooting a single shot or having a
Yep.
single soldier die. They told us years ago they were going to do this. We've had 40 fucking years to prepare for it, and we did nothing. We did
Yeah.
nothing as a country because we were like, that'll never happen to us. America, we're too fucking
Yeah.
strong for that. Guess what, America? It did. And guess who happened to be the ones, the most gullible, who were willing to go along with it? All y'all Cold War loud ass motherfuckers on the right who said,
Yep.
Russia, 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 Red Scare, Red Scare. But you know what you bought into? You bought into the Russian propaganda of changing the Constitution, of changing the Pledge of Allegiance to include in God we trust, or under God, to change our currency to include, and our national motto to be in God we trust rather than e pluribus unum. You did that. That was the Red Scare. That was Christian nationalism. That was Abrahamic fascism creeping in under the guise of nationalistic patriotism for America. That was Russia. That was
Mhm.
a Russian psyop. We
Mhm.
need to admit it. We need to stop being scared to say we have been at war with Russia since the Soviet Union fell, and we don't want to admit it. They are openly attacking us. They've attacked our elections. They attacked our systems. They rigged our election. They instituted a president twice. They are fomenting a civil war. They're using networks like OAN, Fox News, like Fred just said, plus smaller creators like Theo Vaughn and others who are being paid by Russia to
Yeah.
spread hate. We need to start saying that openly.
Yeah.
And if that makes me a target because of it, unfortunately, it's going to have to be that because we have to fucking say it. Like we have to. We're losing this war. And yeah, Lawrence is right in the chat. We're already at war and we're losing. We're like 3 fucking steps behind right now because we've allowed them to do this. And we have a feckless democratic group of people who, or Democrats specifically, who are feckless and won't do the fucking right thing. There were 2 black kids lynched today. I haven't heard a fucking thing about it from
Yeah.
Democrats
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
country. Democrats should be screaming about
Yes.
this across the roofs because normal people care when kids get lynched, when black men get lynched in the South. 2 of them in Mississippi in less than 24 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead,
want to
Walter.
say, yeah, the note that I put, and it ties into this, the note that I put that's been in my mind is the right shamelessly lies. The left needs to learn to shamelessly tell the truth. Tell the truth without apology. Don't
Yeah.
make these caveats like this shooting business. The right is responsible for every fucking one of these shootings. They're the ones that block any kind of common sense gun control. They're the ones that allow access to guns. They say, well, it's a mental health deal. All right, let's address mental health. The right says no every
Can't do
fucking
that.
time. And then it all goes down to what you were saying before, this indoctrinating people. We just pretend like white supremacy isn't anything here. We've never designated the KKK as a terrorist organization. There are
Right.
hundreds of white supremacy groups. All these assholes are well funded by who knows, God knows who. They can go to these campuses. They got money to do that. They are indoctrinating our kids. Your kids are vulnerable to this. We do not sit at home. They're allowed to pump their white supremacist bullshit, hate propaganda into the brains of young boys. And some of them become mass shooters because
Monsters.
supremacy means you think you're superior to other people, so you are not afraid to take their life. They condition themselves to think that because they think they're less than human. So that's why every single one of these mass shootings is because of the right. We don't have to
Yeah.
sit here and be like, well, exceptions. Every single fucking time it's them. And even the ones that they don't indoctrinate to become white supremacists or to become shooters, some of them become child traffickers. Some of them become rapists. Some of them just vote for a convicted fucking felon for president. And then
Yep.
they all go ahead and they cover up the Epstein files because almost all the Republican Party is doing that. Your kids deserve better than to be shot in schools. Your kids deserve better than to become the sexual play toys of some fucking billionaire on a pedophile island. And the right is doing that. And they're also
Yeah.
taking away our vaccines. They're taking away our health care. They're taking away our food because we don't have immigrants to pick the fucking food anymore. So we don't have to apologize. They're fucking killing us. The right is fucking killing us. That's what
Yeah.
we need to say.
I'm
I
so
don't
glad
think
you said don't apologize for our
No,
opinions.
yeah.
Go ahead, Fred.
No, I don't think so. I disagree. I don't think we're losing. We're not losing. We're not losing this war, right? What we're heading for is a showdown for where America has been heading for since its founding, right? This is white supremacy that's been baked in, misogyny that's been baked in, and we're heading for this showdown. If we were losing, they wouldn't be pushing so damn hard
Yeah.
with fascism
You're
and
right.
voter suppression and all this. They wouldn't be. It would just be business as usual. The problem is there's a lot of people that are starting to wake up. And the thing is with extremism, that pie at the top keeps getting smaller and smaller, and they keep getting more radical and more radical. Charlie Kirk got killed or was assassinated because he wasn't radical enough.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't radical enough. And one of Nick Fuentes' little shit killed him.
Groiper. A groiper. That's what they're
Because they
Groipers.
weren't radical enough. Now, that's not to say this shit ain't scary. That's not to say that things aren't going to spiral out of control for a little bit. But I will tell you this: there's more of us and there are them. And there's more Americans that do not want to live this way. And this is unsustainable. But for a while, it's going to get freaking insane. It's going to get
This
nuts.
is only the start.
Yeah, we are heading into what personally, like, here's the thing. The seeds of whatever recession's coming, they've been sown. We're going to reap them. It's just, you can't escape it at this point.
Yeah.
Turning this thing around to where we go back to, well, let's just go back to where when it was normal.
No.
That's done too. Like
There's no normal.
there's no that is gone. The question we concern ourselves is what comes next. And the thing is, the orange dipshit at the top, he's going to die sooner rather than later. What happens after that? I don't think people are going to fall in lockstep with JD Vance and freaking Stephen Miller. I always make that mistake,
I mean, I call him a human penis. I see how easy it is to make that mistake. He looks like he's just pulling up out of his
Well, he
foreskin,
does. I mean,
coming out of Bobby.
You put the spectacles on him. He's Himmler, so he's running
comes-
the American FS. So,
Or he's the brainworm coming out of fucking RFK Jr.'s head. Just
Oh
fucking-
God.
but yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, they
that's the job.
absolutely they are going to. They're already done it with immigrants. They're going after transgender. They're going to go after LGBTQ. They're going to go after like political dissidents. They're already doing the playbook. It's on the way. They're coming for the rest of us. Like it's gonna happen. Like just mentally prepare yourself for it. We're gonna have but what that doesn't mean this is unwinnable because this is not sustainable. It's just not. They don't have the numbers. Now, the hard part is how far this goes and where it ends up, where we're gonna have to come back from that.
Yeah.
That's going to be the difficult part. There are going to be people that are going to back this all the way. And that the thing that really, if I'm being honest, that concerns me is when we get to that point and we're on our way back, or we're on the next iteration of what America is going to be moving forward. I'm going to tell those people that are like, well, we need to forgive and forget. Have all the fucking seats.
Yeah,
Sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
All the people that caused this, jail,
Accountability.
justice. That's it. They're going to prison. The news
Due
media, the
process,
corporate
of course.
media that did it, prison. Billionaires, your wealth is repossessed to give it back to the American people because that's who you got it from anyway with all the freaking government grants and public money.
Yes.
Yep.
It's about accountability. Ken Harbaugh talks about it a lot. It's called is what he says is the accountability agenda. I spoke with him a little bit about it last week, I think it was. It's true. We need to hold these fuckers accountable for what they're doing. And if the laws aren't strong enough, we make new laws. Like that's why we need so many new people running for office. If you're not running for office or even considering the idea of it, if it's not too late, go to runforsomething.net. Find a local office you may want to run for, learn about it. And if you don't end up wanting to run, encourage your friend who's sitting next to you or your friend that's always said, maybe I should run for office one day. Tell them to go fucking run for office. Like runforsomething.net. But going back to something that was in the comments that loops all into this and specifically around accountability. Carrie, you said earlier in the comments is, oh my God, I didn't know the KKK is not considered a terrorist organization. There are 0 domestic terrorist organizations because it is against the law currently to classify groups as domestic terrorist organizations.
Which is nuts.
Part of the reason it's against the law is because part of the reason was it was actually being used to hunt down minority groups and call them terrorist organizations and domestic terrorist groups.
Black Panthers.
It's because of freedom of speech, as we do not allow the use of domestic terrorist group. However, all of that being said, if they operate internationally, they are an international terrorist organization, and then, yes, they can be deemed one. The Proud Boys, for example, are an international terrorist organization because they run chapters in Canada. The Groypers could be considered an international terrorist organization because they have groups in Canada. That is where we can use the current language for accountability. But we do need to bring back the idea of domestic terrorism, and it needs to be well guarded and well regulated so that it cannot be abused to go after leftists who just want to talk, or
Yeah.
brown or black people who are just saying things and are trying to defend themselves. No, we have a white supremacy, white nationalist,
Yeah.
Abrahamic fascist problem in this country. And I'm no longer calling it Christian nationalist right now, anyways, or Jewish nationalist or anything like that, because it needs to be large enough to encompass all of them. Because I'm tired of breaking them down into little mini fucking subgroups because they subgroup us into bullshit, and it's
Yeah.
garbage. They are the fascist Abrahamic regressive party, or the far right for short. Just start fucking calling them that, because I'm done with these shitheads.
Yeah. And we,
Go ahead.
go
You
ahead.
got it, bro. No, you got it. Go for it.
Okay. And we need people. Yesterday, I was interviewing a congressional candidate, and it's just like the idea is we need people in government who understand social media and the danger of that. And it gets back to what you were saying before. I think it's a very powerful argument if we just say other parents, you don't want your kids to be brainwashed by these white supremacists. They're sitting there listening to these hate podcasts. It infects their brain. It turns them into murderers. It destroys their lives. It destroys the people, the lives they kill, and it destroys the parents, the family. It destroys everything. Now we always are trying to hide this. Like you got these free speech movement, which is really just to enable white supremacy. Well, it's a hard problem, but we got to, and we already have restrictions on free speech. A doctor's not allowed to say, hey, this little kid I just saw the other day had this and this and this disease. You're not allowed to say that. We
Mhm.
understand that there are boundaries to free speech already. So we can have boundaries that stop these people from being indoctrinated in our society. Our young white boys are being indoctrinated into becoming killers by these white supremacy podcasts. There's no
Mhm.
reason for that. There's nothing that they add. We can stop that. And we need a whole new generation of politicians who understand, because this social media thing is a new thing. It's been around for 20 years. We got a lot of guys in government right now. They don't know how to put an attachment on an email. These guys are not capable of helping address these issues that are taking our kids. They are going to kill our kids. And this is a
Mhm.
thing that when you tell that to people, you do not want your son to be indoctrinated with white supremacy, do you? You want some protections, do you not? And everybody
Yeah.
will agree with that.
Part of
See,
that can
here,
also start with going into some of these gaming spaces
Yes,
and start
that's another place.
retaking them, and having young men who care, who want to play games and who are good, talk about politics and issues and things, and frame them in moral and ethical ways that don't sound like
Yeah,
politics. Frame the morality, frame the
yeah,
ethics behind it, and why it's wrong to be a fucking fascist, why it's wrong to hate
yeah,
women and hate trans and LGBTQ, why it's wrong and why you're for these people, because it's just
yeah,
decent. And I bet if enough of us, because there's millions of people, there's
yeah.
space in the left for everyone. There's space for the voices. There's space for millions of voices to come out and take over the spaces that they have done. And it just needs all of us to do maybe some of the things we
You
already
know?
enjoy doing, like go play video games and just start talking. Just
Yeah,
just fucking record yourself and talk and go into the chats and do the thing you maybe were a little scared to do. Be unabashedly proud of
yep.
your fucking opinions if they are pro life and pro dignity.
Yep. And shamelessly tell the truth, but also be warned, because Nick and I can attest to this, and I bet Fred too. This last couple of days, there's been a major uptick in the death threats from the bots. I've had people tell me deserve to be hung up by my own intestines. They're gonna burn down my house and rape my kids inside. And it's like if you're not, I get these things so often that I kind of just filter them out. But for somebody
Mhm.
who's just kind of entering in this sphere, like I need to shamelessly speak the truth in response to Republican lies, you're going to start getting, and it's like, if they can use AI fucking tools to fire some guy because he says, actually, a lot of the things that Charlie Kirk said were kind of bad, they can use AI tools to stop people from sending me death threats. We have that power. And that's
Yeah.
what we need to demand with that intensity level. I don't want my kids getting death threats. I don't want them indoctrinated by white supremacists with these hate groups that are funded by God knows where.
God, I'm
I
so
mean,
glad we got you on today, Walter.
the hard part I think, like, if I'm skeptical about anything, is I don't know if our current crop of leftist leader or liberals or Democratic leaders are have the stomach or fortitude to do what's probably going to need to be done. And what I mean by that is, I'm not talking about war. I'm not talking about violence, but we may have to have a president who comes in 2028 because it's gotten so bad that he says, you know what? I'm arresting these 6 judges on the Supreme Court. I'm going to hold them and we're going to prosecute them for corruption.
Mhm.
And we're going to prosecute them for treason for accepting foreign bribe money. Now, the thing is, like, is there a legal precedent? This, well, blah, blah, blah. We tried that with Joe Biden, and look what it got us.
Yeah. I think the
We need
Epstein
we
files will
need
cover a lot of that.
we need
I
to
mean, well,
stop asking
I mean, but that's the
permission to
thing is,
do the
like,
right thing.
do we, like, it's there. It's been uncovered how corrupt these people are. There's the,
Yeah.
there are mechanisms that we could do it. We have to have the will to do it. Who is going to be Abraham Lincoln in order to keep Maryland from going into the Confederacy by their governor, who just says, you know what, screw it. I'm suspending habeas corpus and I'm locking the governor up because I have to do it, because if I'm not going to be surrounded on all fronts by the Confederacy so I can save the Union.
Yeah.
Who's like, is
Yeah.
that Gavin Newsom? I don't think so.
No.
You
He
know,
And
fumbled.
like,
that's
He
like,
fumbled in his
but
response.
who's going to do it? That's that's what we're going to have to push for, because these assholes, these fascists, are going to take it to that level, and the Supreme Court has already shown that
Yeah.
they will back them. They gave Trump the power to do whatever he wants with official acts. They said, well, I mean, even though the lower court ruled that you're violating the due process rights of these people that ICE is rounding up, you can still keep doing it until we rule on it in 9 months.
Yeah.
These
Oh,
Mhm.
people are going to need to be arrested. The Republican Party, their leadership is going to need to be arrested. Do
yep.
we have the will when it comes time? I'm not talking about Civil War II, arming up, or shooting people. I'm literally talking about, do we have the will to do what we need to do to preserve our republic and uphold the Constitution from people who are actively right now trying to tear it down?
And
That's my concern.
we have to have the will, whoever is coming into office. And this is something that as our networks grow, we get the power to demand. So the more you guys show up, the more you support us, the more we can start demanding these things to actually happen. Is we also need to continue on that trend of unabashedly proud of the action that they're going to do. There is going to be blowback from it. There's going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
wing, far extreme blowback from it. And if we say we can't do it because that's going to happen, they've already won.
Yep.
Like that
Yep.
is you giving up in
Yeah.
advance. It has to be a serious threat of accountability, and it has to then be held up. It cannot just be words, it has to be actions. And no, this is not lawfare. No, Donald Trump, whatever
Yep.
bullshit you want to call it. This is
Yep.
restoring constitutional order. This is restoring integrity, service, and ethics into the American ethos through force of will, through the
Yep.
reconciliation process, through a truth and reconciliation commission, through real accountability. Accountability means holding you accountable for the actions and the words that you have said and providing justice through due process. And if the
Yep.
laws are not strong enough to provide justice, because justice is what the people define it to be, then we make them stronger.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
a shame what you're
includes
doing.
arresting 6 Supreme Court members. That includes arresting many of the members in Congress, our
Yep.
legislators, who actively promoted and incited an insurrection attempt
Hmm.
on January 6th years ago and who have been pardoned. Those pardons don't mean shit when the president is a criminal and a fraudster and a felon. And I think it's time we get rid of pardons, to be totally honest, because they've
Yeah.
been
And they need,
abused
yeah.
the shit out of. And if they were going to keep that, there needs to be some sort of regulation and oversight that is visible, easy to trace, and easily monitored, that cannot be corrupted by money. But the pardon power is a waste. It needs to be gone. It is overdue that old relic of a power be removed, because the president
Yeah.
should not be able to unilaterally just let his friends off the hook, or her friends off the hook, or their friends off the hook for doing crimes. That is not faithfully executing and upholding the laws. That is undermining them. That is anti-constitutional, and it's fucking horseshit.
Oh no, to somebody's point, they said, that we're not going to have a change in power in 2026. Yeah, I think they're going to try to suppress the vote, but I think we will, at least in the House, maybe not in the Senate. And here's why: these people don't want to govern, right? They want someone to blame. They want someone to throw bombs at. They don't want to govern. Govern is doing things. Governing is like making lives better for people. It's easier. Like, you notice, like, when do the Republicans do their best? When they're out of power, because they get to blame everything on the Democrats that they
And take
did or
credit, and
neglected
then
to
take
do.
credit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's, to Walter's point, the thing we have to stop doing is, one, forget civility, right? Just stand on business, stand on justice, stand on truth. Screw civility, right? You don't need to be civil to these people. Don't have the argument they want to have. Have the argument you want to have, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to say, well, blah, 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 Charlie Kirk, I was like, I don't care, dude. I don't like him, but I don't think he should have died. Like, what do you think about? It's like, well, you're saying, it's like, no, I'm saying his words. Do you agree with those words? Well, he shouldn't have been shot. Agreed. Do you agree with what he said? Well, he was free speech. Yeah, I don't care about that. What about this? That's how you argue it, right? You
Yeah.
stand on business.
Or
It's like, you said, so why are you calling for people to get fired if you're such a free speech absolutist? Why are you calling for people to do that? Have the argument, you go at them. Don't make apologies for what you believe in. I don't want to honor Charlie Kirk. Fuck honoring Charlie Kirk. He was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't honor Melissa Hortman. We didn't honor her husband and her dog and the other. And was it Sean Johnson or whatever his name was, who got in Minnesota? Right? We didn't honor them. There were no, like, President Trump didn't think Jimmy Carter's flag shouldn't go to half mast for the death of Jimmy Carter. Fuck him.
President.
Yeah.
A prior president.
Yeah.
Who spent his entire life after his presidency building for Habitat with Humanity. Man, go
He
to
was the
hell,
most
dude.
Christian man there was. Like, Jimmy
Yes.
Carter should be a Christian saint. Like, he was the most Christian man I have ever seen or heard of, outside of maybe Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot. Like, those two dudes shaped so much of our moral and ethical fabric of this country. And we need to remember that Jimmy Carter was a good fucking president. He was a good
And he was a
president.
veteran.
Yep.
He
And
was
he was a
handed
veteran.
shit. He was handed shit, and he was a good president. So Jimmy Carter was a hero. Donald Trump is a fucking fascist prick. And what else is white supremacy, and why we're calling it out so loudly and so vibrantly the way we are? And Evan Fields just joined us. He's our host, or he's our guest on Vet Talk here in about 40 minutes on Banner and Backbone. So join us over there. Is because we have a white fucking supremacy problem in this country, and we need to start talking about it as though it was one and is one, and it's white on white, or right on right, or Reich on Reich hate, whatever you want to call it. It is a fascist, Abrahamic, regressive movement. That is what they are.
Yep.
They are fascist, Abrahamic regressives. I say that for a reason, because they're fascists. They want fascism. They're Abrahamic because they are a group of Christian, Catholic, and Jewish nationalists who are all trying to ruin everything through their hate, through hate mongering and fascism. That makes them Abrahamic, because they're two. They're more than one group of, and I'm not going to just call them Jewish fascists, because the Jewish fascists in Israel are Abrahamic fascists. They believe the same shit. And they're regressive because they're not conservatives. They don't want to conserve things. I'm a conservative. I'm also a progressive, but I'm a conservative because I want to conserve the foundational rights and the fundamental rights and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that this country was founded upon for all, for we the people. I want them to be able to talk, but not spew hate speech, because, like we've already said, we regulate speech in this country all the fucking time. let's regulate it so that your speech ends before my fist hits your nose, before you're allowed to
Yeah,
incite
yeah,
violence, because I learned
yeah.
that free speech ended when you incited violence and hate. That was the end of your
Yep.
free speech
And you could be
because
sued for
you are
slander
in
and libel. You
because
know,
you're impinging on
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My rights matter too, not just the fucking person speaking. So your right to free speech fucking stops when it infringes on my rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And hate is not pursuing happiness. So no, right wingers, you don't get to pursue Abrahamic fascism because that's not happiness. That's oppression. That is stealing happiness. So fuck off, right wingers.
you know
You guys
what I
caused this shit.
you know what I love about these billionaires that like thinking they're gonna have this tech feudalism, like peasantry and all this other stuff, is they're either moving to underground bunkers or they want to go to their private island, and they're all like, I think about the Roman Empire at least 2 hours a day. You might want to go read
Yeah.
about the barracks emperors and the Praetorian Guard when those fools didn't get paid.
Oh man.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
They
Guess what's
ate the
gonna happen to
rich too.
you? Guess
You
what's
know
gonna
what?
happen to you?
No,
You know what it all is?
I
It's
didn't.
fucking eagle jizz. That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
eagle jizz. It is fake
Got it. Oh
patriotism. It's
man.
performative fake fucking patriotism. It's gross. And by the way, Lawrence Winterman purchased the domain eaglejizz.com, and we are going to
Oh
own the
God.
fuck out of it. Because you know what? It's a little bit raunchy, it's a little bit funny, and it pokes fun at them in the ways that they don't understand because they don't get humor when it goes over their heads. It's like a chalkboard with a fucking permanent marker. We write on it, they don't know how to read it. It's eagle jizz.
You know, I want to say. Let me just say too. Yesterday, I interviewed a congressional candidate. I want to have you guys talk to her too. And
Oh,
just
and
like
the
the
handle
people that are
eagle jizz
sad
on
or worried about the election.
sorry, Walter, I
Yeah.
cut in.
So the
We
people that are
own
concerned
both.
about the election, good.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The people that are concerned about the elections, it's like the primaries are what we have to think about right now. We have to get involved. We have to get more people involved in the primaries. We can primary the bad actors both on the left and on the right. We can completely transform the government coming up. The activism works better. And the other thing I want to mention is if you're getting overwhelmed, because on Sunday I took a detox day. I got up in the morning, I finished an article, I turned off my computer, and that was it. No internet, no doom scrolling, no
Yep.
nothing. You don't get that constant attacks of the threats and the death threats and all that stuff. Take a day off, and what you realize the way people are in real life is not the way they are on social media. A huge amount of what we interact with on social media are these nefarious accounts from abroad, overseas. Talk to real people. All these
Yep.
strategies that Fred mentioned are going to be effective. You'll find your hopefulness will start to return when you talk to real people because a lot of what we're up against is this massive illusion. They want us to pretend like we've already lost. They want us to make us renounce our ability to have free speech, to say what we really think out of fear because we think they're going to come after us and take our jobs. They don't have that power. We're a lot closer to winning than they want us to believe. And if you go out and look around, you'll see that. Talk to people. We're going to win this.
Fred, last thoughts before I get us
No,
into our closing.
Walter's absolutely right. I mean, get out. You know, part of it is the touch grass strategy, but also is get involved in your community and talk with real people. And like, you don't need to be perennially online. There's not something you're going to miss that's going to be like, oh God, it's the collapse of Western civilization. That's just an illusion. Everybody wants you to think.
Mhm.
This is a marathon, right? This is a lifelong commitment to democracy. And if you're not mentally healthy, then do what you need to do to get mentally healthy. Trust me, the fight, it's going to be there. It'll always be there, but that's okay. It's a good fight, and that's what we're here
Yep.
for. You know?
And wrapping all of that into each other, Walter, do you have some? I'm gonna hand it over to you here for a second before I close out. Is be the community that we want America to be. Be
Yeah.
unadulteratedly empathetic and kind and caring and human and just be the best self you can be because the more we put out, the more they have to fight back against it and they show how ugly they are.
Yep. And the right's just simply, the fact is, they're not doing a damn thing to help anybody. They're not helping your kids. They're depriving your kids of education. They're depriving your kids of health care. They're not even allowing vaccines anymore. They're not allowing bodily autonomy. If somebody rapes your daughter and she's got an ectopic pregnancy, she has to die now. And you can thank the Republicans for that. So this is stuff that we have to say, these very real things. We cannot surrender the moral high ground to these assholes that are oppressing us. And we can't get into that. It's time for the left to wake up and just start telling the truth and push back, because it is. The lives of your kids are at stake. They are hurting us. And if we put it in those terms, we want what is right for our kids, what is right for basic humanity. These things that they say are all lies. We have to change that. We have to expose their lies. People will follow you. We'll win.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so to close it out, and since we're at the top of the hour, I want to address one final comment that's in the chat. Was someone said, "I wish I had a community." Well, buddy, friend, you found one. You
Yeah, we'll
found
find-
a
yeah.
community.
Yeah.
You found an online community that wants you here and cares. So, Jay, I hope you stay and come back, because you're part of the community. Like we all are. That's the point. We are the community.
I'm telling you, there's
the
a
friends,
community
we
out
are
there.
them.
There's a community out there for you, brother. I'm telling you right now. If you're in the United States, it may be small, and no matter where you are, I tell you what, there's people that are organizing. They're doing a good fight. They're out there. You can find them. I promise you. I promise you, man. Because I used to be that guy. I've organized in Ruby Red, Tennessee. They're out there. I promise you.
So with that in mind for everyone, is go make your communities, go build them strong. And as always, let's stop being sick of this shit and let's start doing this shit. Thanks everyone for coming. Please come back later for our vet talk in half an hour. And Walter, we'll see you again here soon.
Now we're going.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Great
Fred.
to see you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.